If you're a Premiere Pro user, then you're in luck. This video is just for you. Welcome back. In today's video, I'm gonna go over 5 Premiere Pro tips or tricks that I use in almost every single project. A few weeks ago, I did a similar video on Davinci Resolve, mainly my 5 color grading and slight editing tips and tricks. But in this video, I'm gonna focus solely on Premiere Pro, and I've actually got a couple really cool things that you might not have heard about. All right, let's hop right in. All right, so first up is a trick that I only thought was possible in Davinci Resolve and After Effects, but thanks to a creator, his name is Lange, and I stumbled across his YouTube video talking about how you can recreate this really cool radial blur effect, which isn't available natively on Premiere Pro, unfortunately. He's created this plugin here that's completely free. If you'd like to toss him a little bit as a tip, he's always welcome to that. But I really appreciate Lange creating this plugin for free that you can go ahead and click and drag into Premiere Pro. So let me show you how this plugin works. First, what you want to do is go ahead and duplicate whatever clip you want to apply this effect to. I've got this old talking head shot here. You can easily duplicate things in Premiere Pro by holding down Option and just clicking and dragging. So I've duplicated my clip here. What I'm going to want to do now is nest this clip. I've just set my keybinds here where if you press N, it'll automatically nest any clip. And then once you've imported that preset, you're just going to click and drag this radial blur preset. He's actually got 2. One is for Adobe Premiere Pro up to 2024, and 2025 and up, he's got this separate preset here. So you just click and drag this onto your nested clip. So basically what this effect does is it uses the transform effect in a really nifty way, and it applies a rotation as well as shutter angle blur to create this rotational, almost Petzval Helios look. Now, as is, obviously this rotational look, this basically radial blur is a little bit much, and you can't even tell like obviously myself in the center. And the way to fix this is what I'm gonna go ahead and do now is once I've got this effect placed, I'm just going to nest this clip one more time. Now you've got your radial clip living above your original clip. And what I like to do now is go ahead into opacity and create a mask. And now if you go ahead and create, let's say, a circular or an oval here around my center, I'll go ahead and then click inverted. So it only affects this outer area and my center frame is nice and focused. Then finally, you're just gonna go ahead and increase that feather. And you can increase this as much as you'd like. I like to increase it quite a bit just so that I've got a nice fall off, and you can actually adjust where your center point is going to be. Typically, I like to have this kind of like central frame, specifically here. It's the talking head shot, so I'm gonna have my face kind of centered here. Let me just click off here. And now if you turn it on and off, you've got this really cool radial Petzval blur effect that used to only be available in After Effects and Davinci Resolve. Thanks to this plugin by Lange, you can do this radial blur effect right here in Premiere Pro, and it's a really cool way to add this distinctive radial effect that really draws your eye to the center of the frame. And it's typically only done with like Petzval or Helios lenses, but here we've done it really easily in Premiere Pro. Number 2, we're gonna continue with masks, but now I'm gonna talk about a text effect, which I've been asked a lot on social media, especially on Instagram, about this text effect that I use in all of my reels. And basically, it's just a bit of blurring around the edges of a text here. If you notice here in my talking about, there's a radial blur that affects only the edges of my text here. And it's a really nice addition to kind of spice up your text. And basically it's the same concept as what we just talked about here in the radial blur, but we're just applying it to fonts. And so let me just delete this here and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. First up, go to your effects and find Gaussian blur. Add Gaussian blur to your text, and once you've added Gaussian blur here, make sure that the blur is affecting both the horizontal and vertical aspects of your text, and also make sure that repeat edge pixels is selected. If you go ahead and adjust the blurriness at this point, you're going to notice that obviously the text itself is blurred out quite a bit. But what I like to do is increase this to like around 30-ish, and then if you go up here, you can actually create masks specifically for effects. And so on this Gaussian blur, I'm gonna create this mask. And again, it's gonna come up with this circle here. A quick tip here is if you hold down Shift, you can actually make things even circles rather than kind of like fiddling around trying to make a perfect circle. Just hold down Shift, it'll create your masks to perfect circles. And what I'll go ahead and do is, again, I'll just kind of make a rough circle around the area I'd like this effect. I'll then go to inverted. And if you just leave this as is, obviously, there's that hard edge here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is click, instead of mask expansion, go to feather, just bump that up. I like to bump that up quite a bit to like, let's say like 150-ish. And now you'll notice that you've got these really pleasant blurred edges on your fonts, and you can adjust this mask here. You can place it and kind of tweak it which way you'd like. You don't have to use a circle. You could create a square mask. You could use a pen mask to create like a vector. You can get really creative with your shapes, but I just love the central mask here. And I like to just manually adjust it to certain areas, basically like the edges of my text, to create that nice sort of, I don't even know how to explain it. It just looks nice. It's a fun effect to add on to your text. I mean, you can do this to other different shapes. It's just playing with the Gaussian blur, again, with the creative masks. I add this to all text all the time. If you'll notice just the edges here, it just adds a little bit of personality and flair to your reels, to your talking heads. And you can use this for obviously YouTube too. It's a really easy, unique effect to add to your videos, to add a little bit of flair. A set of effects that works really well with my Premiere Pro workflow is an audio interface provided by today's sponsor, Minimax Audio. So Minimax Audio is an AI tool for creating voices. It has text-to-speech and emotion controls, but the feature that really stands out is voice cloning, and that's what I want to focus on here. Normally, if I want to change a line I've already recorded, it's a whole process. I have to set the mic back up, make sure the room tone matches, re-record the line, and then cut it into the edit. With voice cloning, I just feed Minimax a short sample of my voice, type the new line, and in seconds, I get clean audio that sounds like me. No reshoot, no setup. Here's an example. Imagine I recorded "This tool saves me," but later I realized it should have been "This tool saves me hours." Instead of filming again, I just type the new line. Then Minimax generates that exact phrase in my voice, and I can just drop it straight into my timeline. It blends super smoothly.
This tool saves me hours.
The biggest benefit is consistency. The clone voice matches my tone, pacing, and delivery. That's super useful if you care about keeping things seamless and professional. It also opens up possibilities. I can quickly try alternative lines to see what flows better or generate extra narration without worrying about background noise or mic setup. For longer projects, it means fewer interruptions and a faster turnaround. I'm only showing text-to-speech and voice cloning today since those are the main features I use in my workflow, but even just with voice cloning, the time it saves makes it super worth it. If you want to check out what it can do for your edits, there's a link in the description below and pinned comment to try out Minimax Audio. Big thanks again to Minimax Audio for sponsoring today's video. Okay, number 3, we're going to talk about a little bit of color grading in Premiere Pro. Now, color grading in Premiere Pro obviously doesn't have the same capabilities as Davinci Resolve, but sometimes you're just working on a project, you just want to quickly color grade it and move on with your day. Obviously, you can go ahead and apply LUTs and all that. That's super easy to do. What I like to do is I actually like to add an adjustment layer, and I like to add lumetri color adjustments to adjustment layers above your clips here. So let's just go ahead and add a lumetri color here. Click and drag that to your adjustment layer. So on your adjustment layer here, just go up to lumetri color. If it's not available, just go to window, I believe, and then just make sure lumetri color is selected. It'll pop up. And under lumetri color, there are a couple different tricks that I like to do to basically above and beyond your sort of basic color adjustments. We know how to do that. If you want sort of specific HSL saturation tricks, so if you want to adjust sort of the filmic density of your color grading in Premiere Pro, a quick and easy way to do this is if you go to the HSL secondary, and in HSL secondary, if you go ahead and deselect H and S, and if you just go to luminance here and adjust the luminance just so it basically affects the center 30% here. So as long as it's affecting sort of the main skin tones of my image, once I've got this, I'm just gonna feather it out. So the top slider here affects the amount that this is actually selecting. It's basically like a creative mask. And then the bottom one here affects your feathered portion. So I'm really gonna stretch that out here and bring that so it's just basically affecting only my skin tones. Once you've got your slider adjusted, so it's basically just affecting your skin tones and sort of the mid tones of your image, basically what we want to actually adjust. Let me go ahead and go down to saturation here. And if you correct the saturation here, rather than going to basic correction, if you go to basic correction and you bump up the saturation, it just doesn't look pleasing. It just gets super crazy, and that's just not a great way to adjust the saturation of your image. If you go to HSL secondary, again, select just the midtones here, and then you boost the saturation just a little bit. Boost the saturation, you can adjust the temperature of the midtones here. You can even bring down the saturation if you like. This is a really easy way to get creative with boosting sort of the vibrancy and doing that HSV trick we did in Davinci Resolve to only kind of boost the midtones, the skin tones, and get your overall image tweaked in a way that gives you a lot more flexibility than just kind of cranking up the saturation here. Another one is is if you go into creative, if you boost the vibrance while bringing down the saturation, that's another way where you can get really creative and get some cool looks with how vibrant and filmic your color actually looks on your image. And a final color grading trick here to get a bit more filmic and faded look. It's something that's kind of trendy right now, but it looks really nice overall. It's something I add to all my color grades. So if you create 2 points here, one on the bottom left quadrant here and one on the top right quadrant here, if you go ahead and grab this bottom left corner and drag this up, you'll notice immediately in the shadows, your shadows get a little bit more faded. This is a nice little touch that you can add and play around with. Rather than just having like crushed blacks, if you just lift these just a tad, and your highlights, I like to also bring these to the left just a little bit. Keep that contrast overall in your image, but just bring this up just so it's a little bit faded. So you can go before and after here. We've already got a much more faded sort of vintage look, which you don't want to overdo, obviously, but just doing slight saturation increase on selective areas and playing with the curves can get you much closer to more of a stylized look in Premiere Pro. Really playing around with the curves, the HSL secondary, and kind of moving away from just playing around with basic correction can get you really cool results in Premiere Pro without having to go to Davinci Resolve for all of your color grading needs. Tip number 4 is playing around with the transform effect. Now, the transform effect is really cool because you can apply it to adjustment layers, and by doing so, you can get some really cool movement in your videos. So let me just show you a before of my introduction here from a previous video. Again, smooth, but nothing quite eye-catching, whereas after we've got this cool transform effect applied, now you've got some cool movement that applies to all videos underneath it. How to do this is super simple. If you go to your effects and just type in transform. So once you've got the transform, just apply this to an adjustment layer that lives above your actual footage. Once you've got your adjustment layer here, the key is to uncheck use composition's shutter angle and make sure your shutter angle is set to anything like 180 degrees and above. If you want more motion blur, basically you just crank this up all the way up to 360. But for now, I usually use 180. And from here, you can keyframe your movements. And so in a lot of my videos, if you notice my intros, my outros, I'll have like a zoom out and then a zoom in at the very end. For reference, you'll notice that I've got these camera zoom motions with a nice motion blur that I add throughout my videos at the beginning and specifically at the end. I like to do that zoom in at the very end. And these are really easy to do and add a lot of movement to otherwise pretty static shots. Again, if I just have that compared to that, again, super cool, super easy to do. So again, if I just delete transform here, I just click and drag transform to an adjustment layer. Once you've got your shutter angle set, then I just like to start specifically for that intro zoom in motion. If I just start my scale at something like, let's say 175, and then I go over a few frames here and then I just set this back to 100. If I leave this, you've got that zoom effect, but it's not smooth. So the key here is if you click down here, you can then right click, ease out and ease in on that second. So you've now got this cool curve here. You can actually click and drag these points to really adjust the velocity curve of your zoom movements. So if I just click and drag this, move this to the very end here. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm creating a curve here. So if I click and drag and make this sort of high speed ramp velocity quicker at the beginning and faded and eased out towards the end, you can get this nice velocity curve. And it just takes a little tweaking. Playing around with this, you'll find what works best for you, and just a little tweaking, you can get really nice movement. If you compare that again to that, now we've got that nice zoom in motion, and I can make this even quicker if I wanted to. Boom. And then inversely, if you wanted to zoom out at the very end of your video, just go to your adjustment layers here and you can create these from whatever scale you have to, I think I have it like 175, and I've got this zoomed out motion, which is basically the invert. You start at your scale, you just zoom up, and then you create these ramps here. Again, with that ease out, ease in. It's super simple. You can get really creative with your effects, and it's a really easy thing to add to your adjustment layer so that if you don't like it, you can always turn it off And that's the beauty of adjustment layers. The final tip here deals with stabilization. You can turn on image stabilization within your lens, within your camera, but sometimes you get clips where it just has a little bit too much jitter in your handheld shots. You want it a little bit smoother. A tip that is overlooked on Premiere Pro, and I think it's like one of the most underrated things, is warp stabilizer. Now, people give warp stabilizer a terrible name, but warp stabilizer is actually really useful. So let me just go ahead and click and drag warp stabilizer onto my clip, and it's gonna automatically analyze this in background. First off, let's make sure it's smooth motion. Let me just show you what warp stabilizer looks like out of the box. This is what people think warp stabilizer is, and like you can't change it in any which way, but warp stabilizer really shines when you adjust the parameters. So instead of subspace warp, I always love to do position, scale, and rotation. I feel like that's one of the smoothest things here. Obviously already you can see it's a little bit better, but still feels a little bit too kind of robot-y. What you wanna go ahead and do is go down to advanced. Make sure that detailed analysis, this is the key. Detailed analysis is selected. And I like to turn off fast analysis. Then it's going to reanalyze warp stabilizer. And basically what this does, I found, is that it just gives you better results. And the other key here is instead of smoothness at 50, I like to start at 1%. So if you start at 1%, if you compare that to the original handheld shot, the handheld shot's a little bit jittery here. But even at 1%, it starts to give it a bit more stabilization. And I like to go from 1%, and I like to just play around from anywhere from 1 to 10% and just see what works. Every clip is different. 10% feels a lot better already, but let me just, sometimes, 5% is enough. Depends on your clip. It depends on every single clip that you use this on. But the key here is that warp stabilizer is a lifesaver for, sometimes I use this on gimbal footage all the time. The key again, smooth motion, position, scale, and rotation. Make sure your stabilize, crop, and auto scale is selected. That's pretty default. And then just make sure that your detailed analysis is selected. That's the key. And then you want to play anywhere from 1 to 5%. Or up to 10%, and that'll give you great results compared to, again, this is the original, and this is the stabilized, a bit smoother, and it just feels nice. It's a really cool hack to add to any footage in Premiere Pro, and it's saved me so many times in both client and personal work. So yeah, those were 5 Premiere Pro tips or tricks that I use in almost every single project. I think a lot of these tips you might not have heard of, so I hope you picked up something that's useful that you can utilize in your next project. If you like my color grading, like my sound design, any of my effects, make sure to check out my shop. It'll be linked down below. It's always a huge help to my channel, and I really appreciate it. If you have any questions on any of the effects that I covered today, leave them down below. Any questions, concerns, and if you made it to the very end of the video, leave me a comment. Let's do mask, M-A-S-K, for this one. Thanks again for watching to the very end, and I'll see you guys in the next one.